anybody misses this, I can send the link out. So thank you everyone for taking the time to join us. Anyone that I haven't had the opportunity to meet, I'm Dan Boone. I'm the co-op coordinator here at Delcastle. So Delcastle has about 1,600 students, plus or minus. We're the largest vocational school in the state of Delaware. There's 6 total vocational schools. We're located in Wilmington, and we're the largest of all of them. We started last year, we started a program called Boot Camp to Work. And this is really geared up for our co-op program. I think a lot of you are familiar, but co-op for us is our work-based learning. Students come to school part of the day, we're part of their school year, and they go out and work and get industry relevant work experience while they're in school. So it's sort of a working dual enrollment program where they're getting high school credit for work that they're doing out in the industry. And Boot Camp to Work is designed really for sort of soft skills and workforce development. We want to ensure that students are prepared for the hiring process, but also to be successful, not just with their technical skills and training when they get out, but also with the soft skills and just sort of employability things when they're out there. So it's a week-long program. It takes place for us the week before we go on spring break. So we don't have school Friday of that week. So it's those 4 days. This year's April 3 through 6. And April 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we will do some different little instructional seminars through there where we put students in small groups. We try to cluster them together as best as we can. For example, construction students with construction students, healthcare with healthcare, consumer services. We try to cluster them as best we can. Logistically, there's some hiccups there with scheduling and so forth, but we do the best we can there. And we try to keep them in fairly small groups of somewhere in the 30 to 50 student range. And we invite in industry professionals, HR managers, direct line supervisors, business owners, people that are going to be doing hiring through the co-op program and that are also going to manage these students along the way through the co-op program. So we invite those people in to deliver some content relevant to workforce development. We work on these things every single day in our career areas. Things like showing up on time, being prepared for work, put your cell phones away.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Aggie, you okay? Oh,
Yeah,
maybe you had
yeah.
a question. Okay. All those things that, we run into those little hiccups out in the workforce, not only with our students, but I'm sure you run into some of those problems with adults out there as well. And we are constantly drilling those into our students. But it means a lot more when it comes from somebody that's in the industry than it does from their career area teacher who they hear from every day. So that's why we really try to bring as many of you on board as we can. So I thank you for volunteering to step up and be one of these presenters, or maybe even present to multiple groups. Really appreciate that. It goes a long way for us. And it's a day that our students really look forward to. We got some great feedback last year after this event, not just from employers and different industry representatives, but our students and our career area teachers. They were really blown away with just the level of content that was delivered and how well it was received by our students. So thank you for taking the time to join us and volunteer for that. I just wanted to first, before I jump into kind of the format, introduce Dr. Comegys. He's our principal here at Delcastle. He's taking the time to join us today. So Dr. Comegys, if you have anything you want to put out real quick.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And thank you everyone for making the time. I know everyone's busy, but we appreciate your all support in this endeavor. This is a wonderful event that we kicked off last year, as Dan mentioned, and just seeing the amount of support in terms of the community for Delcastle is incredible. But then having kids come through and seeing all that support, I think is what helps us prepare our students for the next level and really just see what is out there for them. So again, I thank you all for this opportunity. Dan will probably push it out. Most of you all have committed to this date. If you have friends in the industry or know other companies and businesses that might be interested in doing this, we appreciate anyone and everyone. We'd love to fill our gym even fuller than what it was last year. So again, we thank everyone. This is great for our kids. You guys are doing this for our kids, and so we are forever grateful and appreciative. So thank you all.
Great. So what I'd like to do is just go through kind of the format of what this week looks like for us and where you fit into that format, and then certainly open it up to any questions. I'll also email this information out to everybody after this. If you got to jump off early or something like that, it's no problem. I'll send it out electronically as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see what our schedule looks like for that day. So I did push this out with the meeting invite, the schedule. Monday, April 3rd and Tuesday, April 4th is really where all of our presenters come into play. But the week begins on Monday. Monday and Tuesday look identical for us. Monday, we're going to go through resume building and interview skills. Again, those small group seminars. This is for all of our juniors. So juniors have, based on their career area, they have their career area classes at different times throughout the day. So you can see in the schedule that some of our medical students and our welding, sheet metal, carpentry, production programs, those juniors are in their career areas first thing in the morning. So we have some presenters during that time. And then it just continues on throughout the day based on when those students have their CTE class time. So Monday and Tuesday will be presentations in these small groups of somewhere 30 to 50 students. We do have one or two groups that are a little bit larger. So we have, a space that will accommodate that. Wednesday of that week is going to be a day where students log in online and go through diversity, equity, and inclusion training. It's really tough for us to deliver the same content to all these students for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we've actually recorded that, and we've pushed that out to them where they can watch a video and it pauses along the way, engages with the students a little bit, and then we can circle back with their teachers and with their classmates and have some open discussion there. So that would be Wednesday. And then we'll round the week out on Thursday with a career fair. Our career fair was huge last year. We had just over 80 employers come in. It's specific only to our co-op students. So we're not opening it up for seniors to find jobs after they graduate. A lot of these employers hire our juniors and our seniors, and we really want to encourage those students to stay with those employers after graduation. Certainly, we're not at 100% there. Some of them will go in different directions, but I don't want an employer to invest a lot of resources and training and funding and all these kind of things to our co-op program. And then right as they graduate, we offer all these other options of these employers interested in them as they graduate. So, we don't open it up for them. If those students contact me looking for a different opportunity, we handle those on case-by-case basis. But this career fair is specific just for our co-op program for our rising seniors. So I'll run through the schedule real quick. You can see 8:20 to 9 o'clock on both Monday and Tuesday. We have Group A and Group B. These are 40-minute blocks. So if you're a presenter, you'll have a group of students for 40 minutes. It's not a lot of time. You can't dive real deep in there, but it's enough where we can keep their attention. We can get some good information out, create some discussion. And then after this seminar, those students will go back to their career area and they'll practice some of this stuff. They'll put it into application with their career area instructors and with their classmates. So on Monday, for example, students will meet with you or with our presenters. They'll get some resume building, interview skill discussion in there, and some resources. They'll go back, they'll update their resumes. They'll do some mock interviews in their career areas. And we're also encouraging all of our teachers to bring in guest speakers on these days. So, somebody in the carpentry program who's an employer in the carpentry industry will come in and talk with these students about opportunities there, kind of tell their story and what a pathway in carpentry might look like for these students. So this is going to be our schedule for Monday and Tuesday. I have everyone's names blocked next to the group that you'll be presenting with, and again I'll send this out again electronically after this meeting. I did have one cancellation yesterday. So if you look at Tuesday, April 4th, that's soft skills from 10 o'clock to 10:40. I have a group that does not have a presenter currently. So if you know someone that might be available or interested in filling that slot, this would be with our chem lab, our nurse tech, our surgical technology, and half of our medical assisting students. So from 10 to 10:40, I am still looking for a presenter there if anyone knows anybody. I'm going to jump back over here and stop sharing, bring myself back on the screen. So that's what our schedule looks like. I'll just go through some logistics there and kind of what we're looking for in those presentations. For arrival times, if you can shoot to be 10 to 15 minutes early, just so we can get you checked in, get you into your space that you'll be presenting in, kind of get a lay of the land and feel things out and see how, if you want to adjust anything, we can move tables around, whatever we might need to do. But we're going to set things up the same way we did last year, which worked really well. You'll have, if you need any kind of technology or any of that sort of stuff, we can certainly set you up there. I just need to know ahead of time of what technology you might need. Same with any kind of handouts. If you'd like to hand anything out, I'm happy to have copies on hand in that space waiting for you when you arrive. Just please send it to me a day or two ahead of time so that I have a chance to make copies and have all that prepared. You saw the schedule. That day is really busy for me. I'm kind of hustling around from one presentation to the next. So if you walk through the door and need copies or something, it could delay us a little bit. So anything you can get to me ahead of time, your PowerPoint presentations, if you want me to have that already pulled up for you, I'm happy to do that. I just need it ahead of time. When you arrive, if you're at Del Castle for your presentations, that would be our media center and our auditorium. We have two parking lots here at Del Castle. One is for our staff. The other one is for students and visitors. So when you arrive at Del Castle, you really want to go to the parking lot with the flagpoles in it. And that's our main entrance right there. That'll put you the closest to our auditorium and our media center where you'll be presenting. So please park in the parking lot where the flagpoles are located. Enter right there. You'll be greeted once you get inside the door by one of our monitors. They'll show you to the main office. We'll get you checked in and into that space. If you're presenting at Marshallton, that is our Sharp Center. If you're not familiar with where that's at, it's a separate campus, but it's right up the road, maybe 2 blocks away from Del Castle. I will email out the exact address for that for everyone. So if you need to report to Marshallton, that follow-up email I have will have the address there. Talked about technology and handouts. If there's any special requests there or anything, just give me a heads up and I'm happy to accommodate. Again, 30 to 50 students per group estimated. We do have 1 or 2 groups a little bit larger than that, but all the spaces that we're putting you in will be set up for the number of students that we expect to have in there. So you don't have to worry about any of that. I'll take care of all that ahead of time. They will have teachers in there with them. So, you're not expected to do any kind of classroom management or any of that sort of thing. Our teachers will take care of that. The students will come in, they'll settle in. If you want them arranged in any kind of certain way, that the group is yours once they're in there. But we'll have people there to handle any sort of, students on phones or whatever. We'll set those expectations for you, kind of introduce you before we turn things over to you. 40-minute long session. So jumping into Monday. So if you're presenting on Monday, again, which is resume building and interview skills, what are we looking for? The 40 minutes is yours. You can structure this any way that you would like. I'm not going to dictate how you run your session. Last year, what most presenters did was they came in, they had some sort of a handout for a resume, something the student could take with them, whether it's a sample resume, maybe with some highlighted areas on there. At the top, you want to make sure you have your name and some contact information with a little note there. The contact information should be relevant and should be monitored. Some things that we've run into along the way is that students don't set their voicemail up, and they don't. If it is set up, it's full. They haven't cleaned it out. So then they're getting phone calls from employers, and they don't even know because it's an unknown number, so they don't answer it, and then their voicemail is full, so nobody can leave a message. So maybe just something that you want to touch on with the resume. And then, an objective in there, if that's something that you recommend that they have, making sure that's relevant to whatever position that they're applying for. All of these students already have a resume that they've created previously, but it's probably outdated. Most of them created it their freshman year and probably have not worked and updated it since then. So they just need to kind of hone that back in. An area of focus for us on resumes is that obviously our students don't have much work experience, but what they do have is skills and training in their career area here. A lot of times for education or experience, they'll just put Del Castle High School on there. They won't list their career area. They don't go through and really highlight those skills that they've worked on the past 2 to 3 years in their career area. So I think that's a real area of emphasis that you could touch on when talking about resumes for our students. Um, Centering the resume around the job that they're applying for. And then the last one is like punctuation, capitalization, formatting the resume, finding some way for that to stand out from the rest. That's an area that we struggle with. A student will send me a resume and the whole resume is all in lowercase letters, or the format is kind of all over the place and it jumps around a little bit. It's just not very clean. So again, if they have something they could take with them, or if there's a resource, a template out there that you recommend that you could direct them to, maybe even a handout that is a sort of a resource they can take with them, also with a link on there or someplace, a QR code where they can scan and go to a template where they can just type their information in, that would be phenomenal. But I think that on this day where we're really going to make our money is when we talk about interview skills and just honing in, making a strong first impression. What should you wear to the interview? Keep in mind, we have 24 programs. So a student going to an interview in our teacher academy or in our business tech program, they may look a little different than somebody going in our welding program. So kind of taking a look at what type of students you're presenting to, and then talking about what their attire might be for a resume in those areas. What would your expectations be as someone hiring our students in an interview? Practicing ahead of time, encouraging them to think of questions that may be asked in an interview and practice those ahead of time. They should also have some questions ready. We have all sort of outlying circumstances with our students, transportation, and hey, I still want to be able to participate in sports. Can I do that with this job? That interview is their opportunity, not just for the employer to learn about the student, but for the student to learn about the employer. And are you willing to work with my schedule? What does your work schedule look like? A lot of times our students will get hired and they're too shy to ask the question about what their hourly rate is. And we have employers that aren't upfront about that. They just say, yeah, we'd love to hire you. And they just assume that this student is looking for any opportunity out there at all. They have no other opportunities and they're going to accept anything thrown their way. And then the student comes to me, hey, do you know what I'm being paid? Well, that's something that you should be working out with your employer, either through that interview process or following up through a job offer. So just kind of talking about those things along the way. And keep in mind, these students will go back to their career area after this session. They'll revise that resume. They'll have time to do some mock interviews. So talk to them about, what that should look like when they get back there. That's just a few suggestions for those Monday sessions. Tuesday, soft skills for success. I view this day as a lot more discussion focused and trying to get students involved. So this is really, you've gone through an interview, you've been made an offer, you've accepted that, and you have your first day. What should you expect when you get out there? Number one, they need to ask those questions ahead of time. What do I wear? Do I pack a lunch? Do we buy lunch? Do we work through lunch? Are there any breaks throughout the day? What is your cell phone policy? What happens if I need to call out? Hopefully the students have worked all of this out with their employer and understand what the expectations are. But I think it's important that we talk about that with these students, that is something that should be done ahead of time, so that when you get there, you can focus on working and not learning how to navigate through this company and what their expectations are. Major hiccups that we run into out in the workforce with our students in terms of co-op, probably the same things that all of you are seeing with adults. Tardiness, call outs, no calls, no shows. We don't have many of those, but we set the expectation that under no circumstances can that happen unless it's an absolute emergency that just came up on the spot. But cell phones, recreational drug use, marijuana, that's in legislature right now. So talking with our students about if that is approved through the state of Delaware, what does that still look like out in the workforce? A lot of employers are still going to do drug screens, and students are going to need to abide by that. So they need to be thinking about that ahead of time. And the other one is just motivation. I get some comments sometimes, hey, Dan, I don't know if this student's really interested in this trade. They come out here and yeah, they're here, they're on time, and they're with us, but I don't know, they just don't seem like they're all that interested in it. They need to really think about if this is something that they want to do. And I always talk to students about, this is a contract you're entering into. So if I'm an employer and I'm extending a job offer to you, if you accept that, you're accepting my terms and conditions here. And that is, you're going to give me your time. And I expect that you're not on your cell phone, that you are here on time, that you're interested and motivated in what you're doing right here. You're showing initiative. And in return, I'm going to pay you for that time. That's our contract. So I expect you to abide by my terms and expectations. And you can expect that I'm going to treat you with respect. I'm going to provide a safe work environment, and I'm going to compensate you for your time. So I think it's important that the students understand, what that relationship looks like. And it's not just that, hey, this is a freebie, like, I'm just paying you to show up here, but I expect something in return. So kind of having that discussion, and any way you can pull the students into these discussions, throw the questions out there. What does this look like? How would you handle this situation? What happens if you're sick? How do you think you should handle that? If you decide you want to leave a company for another one, what does that process look like? Maybe you don't get along with a coworker or even your supervisor. How do you think you should handle that and still be able to keep a positive work environment out there? This Tuesday's presentations, that's kind of what we're looking for, is just talking through some of those different situations. Some of you on here are direct supervisors and you are supervising our co-ops. Talk to the students about what your experiences have been. Some of those positive experiences have been great, but also maybe some where you got a student that wasn't motivated and how we were able to turn that around, or in worst case, we weren't able to and had to part ways. So that's kind of what we're looking for there. Again, 40 minutes, they'll go back to their career area after that. We'll have guest speakers come in, in the welding shops. There might be somebody from a welding employer that comes in and talks to those students about co-op opportunities with them. Or, hey, here's my story. I'm a Del Castle graduate, went through the co-op program, and now I'm a supervisor for this company, and I'm supervising co-ops coming through to me. So that's what the students are going to see after they leave from you. And certainly their career area instructors are going to talk to them about some do's and don'ts of co-op and out in the workforce and what that might look like. In a nutshell, that is the presentations for Monday and Tuesday. Again, I'll send all this out, but I want to go ahead and open it up and see if there's any questions in the group now that I can answer, because if you're thinking of something, there's probably someone else here in the group thinking the same thing. Does anybody have any questions? And you can just unmute and jump in here. I'll pull the chat up too. I saw a couple things. Aggie says she's available to do Tuesday's presentation. So I appreciate that, Aggie. I'll add you to my list. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Danny, I'll have to go back and look on the form that you sent out, or the planner that you sent out to us. I've been kind of focused here, watching you and what you presented. But how will we know if we're supposed to be at Del Castle or at that Marshallton? Is there a place on there that indicates?
Yeah, it does. So Vanita, for you in your case, for example, you are Tuesday, 12:50 to 1:30. You are in the media center. So the media center and auditorium are both at Del Castle. If you're not at Del Castle, it'll say you are in the Sharp Center or Marshallton Gym. So that's over at Marshallton. And again, when I send the email out, I'll clarify that. But Marshallton is the Marshallton Gym, and the Sharp Center, Auditorium, and Media Center are at Del Castle. Good question. Keisha said she's going to send some questions over in the chat. She's had some trouble with her microphone. I've had a hard time hearing her, so she's typing in the chat now with any questions. Anybody else have any questions? You can unmute now.
I have a quick question. You had mentioned if we needed technology to let you know, but is there going to be basic technology, laptop, PowerPoint presentation ability, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have smart boards and things like that. Actually, in our media center, we have televisions on the wall that are connected to our HDMI cables, and we can plug your presentation in on all those. In the auditorium, we have a large projector that'll drop down the same in the Sharp Center. So you're welcome to bring your own computer too, if all you're doing is accessing a PowerPoint and putting that on there. If you bring your own computer, you will not have access to Wi-Fi in our building though. So if you need that, I'll provide a computer and just need to know that ahead of time.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anybody else, any questions? Okay. Keisha asked, number one, will we need a computer to show our PowerPoint? If it's just a PowerPoint, you can bring your own, or I can provide one. Just please let me know ahead of time so I can have one set up. And can we have giveaways, candy, pens? Absolutely. No trouble there at all. The only thing we ask is that you bring nothing with latex into our building. We have one very severe latex allergy, and it's even airborne. So if that teacher is just in the room with latex, she has an emergency reaction. So no latex. That's the only thing we would ask. That includes rubber bands. So even a rubber band would set her off. So please don't bring any rubber bands in. I see Keisha maybe has a follow up there. So just wait for that. And for everybody else, if you don't have any questions or you feel like you feel pretty good about things, that's all that I have. So I really do appreciate your time. Again, I'll follow up with an email. I'll send that schedule back out, Marshallton address. I'll clarify those locations. And I'll also attach a link for this video. So if anybody wanted to go back and follow up on it again, you'll have the opportunity to do that. If you have any questions, you can stick around. I'll stick around for an extra minute or two and happy to answer any. Thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you soon. Yeah.
Dan, this is Nancy Duty. Last time when I presented, I had videos of what is appropriate for interviews, both online and a face-to-face. The sound had trouble coming through, so we kind of goofed around with it, and it did come through because I think I'd sent my PowerPoint presentation to you ahead of time.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that they will work because they're pretty good presentation, pretty good short videos of interview techniques.
No problem at all. So if you do plan on showing a video or you need sound or anything, when you send your material over to me, please just let me know that.
Okay.
I may not go through. What's that? I'm sorry.
I'll do it, and I'll tell you what slide numbers they're on.
Perfect. And then that way I'll make sure that we have that set up and we check it before you get there. I probably just saw a PowerPoint and didn't think anything of it and just made sure the PowerPoint was up. So yeah, we'll have that set up for you.
Okay,
Sorry about
great,
that, Nancy.
good.
Yep.
Thank you. That was all I had, and I'll make sure I have copies of sample resumes for them.
Great.
It's in the
Thank you.
presentation, but I'll make sure I have printouts for them to use.
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Bye.